Ah, ahoy, dude. Have you ever wanted to solve nautical crimes as an insurance investigator, where you follow dead guy dust clouds around and travel back in time, get trapped in an endless loop of determining causes of death that you're consistently wrong about while you try to decipher a cryptic tale of greed and high seas fuckery? You should play Return of the Obra Dinn. One-man development powerhouse Lucas Pope released this game in 2018 to extremely high praise, and for really good reason. The obvious draw here is the unique visuals, and that's what first got me interested when I saw the demo like a couple of years ago. But once I got my hands on the game after launch, I realized that there is so much more charm here than just the dithered graphical style. At its core, Return of the Obra Dinn is an intellectually challenging puzzle game for big-brained boys only that tells a really competent story in a really original way. So if you've never heard of the game or you've seen it but you never got your own copy, this video is just going to be me trying to convince you to go out and give it a try. First, for a little story context. As I mentioned in the intro, you're an insurance investigator in the year 1807. Your task is to determine the fate of the crew of the Obra Dinn, a ship that mysteriously went missing 4 years prior and recently came back ashore with all these poor bastards missing or just straight up fucking dead. So to solve this mystery, you have two main tools. Number one is the logbook. This is complete with like a group drawing of all the dead people, a ship roster, and blueprints of the Obra Dinn. The second is a magical pocket watch. This is how you're going to be able to glimpse back in time to witness deaths and try to piece together what the hell happened. This works by you finding a body and interacting with it. This triggers this really cool little cinematic moment where the screen goes dark and all you do is hear the dialogue and the ambient sound effects of the victim's last moments.
Captain! Open the door! Kick it in. Lest we break it down and take more than those shells! You bastards may take exactly what I give you!
Next, you're going to be transported to a freeze frame of the exact moment of death, where you can study the scene for as long as you want. You can zoom in on characters to see if you know anything about them. Now, this is where I literally would have like a notebook and a pen to take notes on names, titles, pretty much any information I could get my hands on, I would record. But do not worry, dude, because things are not as simple as they appear. The deaths you're witnessing are not even close to being in chronological order. Obra Dinn has you kind of knitting together this big quilt of mini stories over time until you start to see tiny little details line up. This sort of patchwork storytelling gives you a nice feeling of kind of impending doom on this crew. I mean, sometimes you'll be in a death scene and look in the background and there's a guy that you recognize from his own death scene and you're like, oh no, dude. But what that does is it really adds to the atmosphere of this game, and the atmosphere is really bloody and mysterious. The art definitely enhances this, but it's hammered home by the fact that once you witness one of the deaths, a remnant of that body stays behind in the present so that you can kind of revisit that death whenever you want to backtrack for clues. This is a really clever way to represent the information that has been gathered by your character to this point. So near the game's end, the boat should be like littered with dead people. It's sick. But all of these murders are also recorded in the logbook automatically, and they're put into chapters, chronological order. So you might be surprised to see that a murder that seemed, routine pirate business actually takes place towards the end of the story, and vice versa. But back to the murders themselves. So once you have somewhat of an idea of who's dead and how they died, you can make a nice little guess in the book. There's no penalty for wrong answers, so I usually just put down roughly what I think or what I know, and then I iron it out later on. The detective work in Obra Dinn is extremely rewarding, but I find it to be at its peak earlier on in the game when you're slowly attaching names and titles to faces. I did this by listening up for hints during early death sequences and cross-referencing that info to the crew drawing. There's some tells in the drawing, like the captain having some of his officers close by, but I mean, as you can see, it's a big fucking picture, and things get less clear the further back you go. So let's think about Return of the Obra Dinn as like a jigsaw puzzle, right? That means that it's hard to start, but once you have a shape of the general events, you start to get in a little groove, and then all of a sudden, you're solving fates left, bam, solving fates right, bam, especially as the story is getting crazier and crazier. Now, I really enjoyed the specifics of how things went to shit on this ship, so you're going to find no spoilers in this video, but rest assured that you will see deaths that leave you thinking, what the hell? Is this the same game as the beginning with the guys shooting and the sailors and the... One more little note about the logbook. I just think this thing is an incredible little hub for all your information. It's so concise. I mean, I like to keep hard copy notes because I can kind of write them in my own lingo, edit them, draw dicks next to them, but this logbook in the game does more than enough. I love the crew drawing. It adds an incredible amount of flavor, mystery, and wonder that's really hard to describe. With so little to go on for each character, it's pretty crazy how you get invested so early on. And of course you want to find out who done it, goddammit. So the look of the game, I think it's fucking awesome. I mean, look at this. You've heard of 8-bit, 16-bit, but this baby, this is glorious 1-bit. It's emulating the graphical capabilities of the old Macintosh systems, and Lucas Pope was so dead set on achieving this art style that he went through lengthy experimental phases to fine-tune the rendering and the motion blur to save us, the players, from probably some really bad headaches. It ended up working extremely well, and it's one of the most eye-catching, coolest aspects of this game. And I guess when I'm playing for like 4 hours straight, I'd get a little bit of eye strain, but I'm a bitch, dude. You're fine. There's even settings that represent other old machine color maps, and I mean, dude, Lucas, you're crazy. What a cool little addition. I really love using the Zenith ZVM setting sometimes, as it has this kind of sepia effect that really lends itself to the whole nautical setting. But there's one technical aspect of this game that stands above all else, and that is this. All right, dudes, can everybody come around? Let's sit in a little circle here. Let's have a little powwow. So let's just take a second. Let's appreciate the fact that one man, one mortal, created this entire video game. That is just incredible to me. Lucas, full props to you, my guy. You made one of the most fun indie games in a handful of years. The game is available on Steam for Mac and Windows. It's super cheap at 20 bucks, and I think it goes on sale every once in a while. And Lucas, put that thing on Switch, man, then you'll get a real gold star. So, if you love puzzle games, if you love indie games, if you love sailors, mystery, betrayal, treasure, death, creativity, then dude, you should play Return of the Obra Dinn. Yeah, you still there, dude? Well, you should subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm going to be pumping these videos out like crazy. And you don't want to miss them. So, subscribe. Thanks for watching.